Hi, it's me again. Long before modern warfare, the fate of empires was decided by sword, shield, and strategy. Across deserts, mountains, and oceans, ancient civilizations clashed with tactics forged by genius and desperation. They built empires not just with strength but with precision, deception, and innovation. Today, we unlock the battlefield secrets of the ancients and reveal the war tactics that changed the world forever. Number 1. Military might. One of the most detailed looks at ancient warfare comes from the tombs of the Chinese warlord Qin Shi Huang. These tombs were discovered in 1974 in the city of Xi'an. Inside, archaeologists found a vast army of terracotta soldiers and horses that had been created to protect the emperor in the afterlife. It was an astonishing find. There were 8,000 soldiers buried with him, each one unique and bearing different facial features, along with 130 chariots and 520 horses. Researchers believe that this entire force represented a fraction of the actual army that the emperor had commanded when he was alive. He had apparently assembled a military force of over 400,000 men. To put this into perspective, the Roman army that invaded Britain in the 1st century AD only numbered about 50,000 men. The sheer size of the Qin Shi Huang's army suggests that he was quite literally a military warlord. Archaeologists have also found other artifacts in his tomb, including weapons and armor, giving us insight into the technology used by ancient Chinese armies. Number 2. Siege warfare. Siege warfare is one of the most terrifying aspects of any conflict, and it seems that ancient civilizations knew all too well the devastation that could be caused by a prolonged siege. During the siege of Ashkelon in 604 BC, the Egyptian Pharaoh Necho II surrounded the city, but he found that its thick walls were too much for his army to handle. So he turned to a different tactic. According to historical records, Necho had a tunnel dug under the city walls, so that his soldiers could infiltrate it and capture it from within. This method of siege warfare is still used today by special forces around the world. It's a testament to its effectiveness that after over 2,500 years, it's still considered a viable strategy. Number 3. Naval warfare. Ancient naval warfare was a brutal affair, often involving ships that were just as deadly as the weapons they carried. During the Battle of the Straits of Artemis in 480 BC, the Greek navy faced off against the invading Persian fleet. The Greeks, outnumbered but not outgunned, used their superior maneuverability to take out the larger Persian vessels. They rammed the sides of the enemy ships, causing them to capsize or catch fire. The burning question is, how did they manage to flip these massive ships? Well, the answer lies in the design of the ancient Greek warships. They were specifically designed to be low and wide, making them incredibly stable and resistant to being toppled over. This gave them the edge they needed to win the battle. Number 4. Defensive tactics. The art of defense was an important part of ancient military strategy, and no one knew this better than the ancient Greeks. During the Peloponnesian War, a brutal conflict between Athens and Sparta, defense became a matter of life and death. While the Athenians held dominance at sea, the Spartans focused on land, warfare, and fortification. When Spartan forces found themselves under siege by Athenian armies, they didn't collapse. They adapted, relying on rigorous discipline, tight formations, and fortified positions. They turned defense into a psychological weapon. Spartan hoplites used narrow terrain and city walls to their advantage. Every choke point became a trap, every delay a drain on Athenian supplies. They employed a defensive tactic of attrition, forcing their enemies to spend time, resources, and morale. For the Spartans, defense wasn't weakness. It was a calculated, disciplined waiting game, one that often led to brutal counterattacks. At just the right moment, centuries later, their tactics would inspire generals across the world. Number 5. Psychological warfare. Psychological warfare has been a part of military strategy for centuries, and the ancient Greeks were no strangers to its use. During the siege of Melos in 418 BC, the Athenians used propaganda to try and break the spirit of their enemy. Athenian diplomats arrived on the island and told the millions that they should surrender because resistance was futile. They even went so far as to threaten the Melians, warning them that if they refused to surrender, the Athenians would turn the island into a barren wasteland. And to prove their point, they left behind a small group of soldiers to make the island look like a graveyard. Needless to say, the Melians didn't heed their warnings, and they fought back against the Athenians. This led to one of the most brutal sieges of the ancient world, with the Athenians eventually resorting to starvation tactics to force the Melians to surrender. Number 6. Guerrilla tactics. Guerrilla tactics have been used throughout history by smaller forces to take on larger, more powerful enemies. And during the 1st century AD, the Jewish rebels in Judea used this strategy to great effect against the Roman army. The Romans had occupied Judea, and the local Jewish population was not happy about it. Instead of mounting an open assault against the Romans, the Jews chose to use guerrilla tactics such as ambushes and hit-and-run attacks. They also used the local knowledge to their advantage, hiding in caves and using secret tunnels to escape detection. Their tactics were so effective that the Romans had to abandon their efforts to conquer Judea and instead focus on putting down the rebellion. Number 7. Fortifications. Fortifications have played an important role in ancient warfare, with entire cities sometimes being built around defensive structures. In the 7th century BC, the Assyrian Empire was a formidable force to be reckoned with. But when they laid siege to the city of Thebes, they found themselves facing a formidable foe. The Thebans had constructed a double wall around their city, making it virtually impregnable to attack. The Assyrians tried everything they could think of, including building a massive siege mound to try and batter down the gates. But the Thebans held firm. Eventually, the Assyrians gave up and lifted the siege, leaving Thebes one of the few cities in the ancient world that had managed to withstand an Assyrian siege. Number 8. Cavalry charges. Cavalry charges have been a staple of warfare for centuries, with heavily armored knights thundering into battle on horseback. One of the most famous cavalry charges in ancient history occurred at the Battle of Karansebes in 229 BC. When the Roman general Gaius Aurelius Carter faced off against the invading the Romans had never seen anything like the Celtiberian cavalry before. They charged into battle with reckless abandon, wielding long spears and riding horses that were bred for war. The Celtiberians nearly routed the Roman army until Carter ordered his cavalry to make a final stand. The Romans held their ground, and the cavalry charges became one of the most iconic moments in ancient military history. Number 9. Civil unrest. Ancient Rome was a vast empire that stretched from the Atlantic Ocean to the Middle East. It was a difficult task to keep the provinces in line, and often the Roman army had to deal with civil unrest. In 87 BC, the Roman general Gaius Marius found himself leading an army against a group of rebels, led by the Populares leader Lucius Cornelius Sulla. Despite being outnumbered and outmatched, Marius secured a surprising victory over Sulla's forces at the Battle of the Colline Gate. The victory made Marius a hero and helped to secure his place in Roman military history. Number 1. Total war. Total war is a devastating form of warfare, where entire regions are targeted and everything from infrastructure to civilian life is fair game. During the First Punic War in the 3rd century BC, the Roman and Carthaginian armies faced off in a series of brutal battles across the Mediterranean. The conflict was so intense that neither side was willing to give up. the Romans developed new military tactics, such as the use of heavy infantry to counter the Carthaginians' superior cavalry. In the end, the Romans emerged victorious, but not without suffering heavy losses. The war had been a costly one, but it had also been a necessary one, as it had shown the Romans that they were capable of fighting and winning against some of the most powerful militaries in the ancient world. Thanks for watching. Which of these ancient war tactics do you think is the most interesting? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you next time. Bye.